Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our industry event today. And I'm very excited about a couple things. One, let's start with an introduction. I am Olivier Lewis, broker owner of RE/MAX First Realty 2 in Cranford. My partner, Carl Sanfilippo of RE/MAX First Realty in East Brunswick, as well as RE/MAX Tri-County in Hamilton. We love to host these industry events where we speak on topics that will help you guys, our colleagues and peers in the industry. Sometimes we bring speakers in, and today we do have a great guest speaker, which I heard on a podcast, bought and read her book, and decided that she was an ideal fit to bring in and cover working by referrals and how to generate referrals without necessarily asking. So I'm very excited about that today. And I'm going to start off with introducing Stacey Brown Randall, as well as reading her bio. Interesting bio, great story, as well as a great author, and really helped me tweak a couple things that I read in her book and heard on the podcast of how I approached referrals. So it's a great topic. As you guys all know, generating referrals is the easiest, it's the lowest hanging fruit of how to grow your business, but it's also something that we've not evolved in our industry, right? We're all saying the same key taglines and phrases. So I'm excited to kind of change things up, shake things up, and help us grow that part of our business. So let me read Stacey's bio. Stacey Brown Randall is the multi-award-winning author of Generating Business Referrals Without Asking, host of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast, and national speaker. She's had the privilege of helping well-known corporations and franchisors, but her focus is on small business owners and solopreneurs, which I love that term, solopreneurs. Stacey has been featured in national publications like Entrepreneur Magazine, Investors Business Daily, Forbes, Fox News, and more. Stacey's received her master's in organizational communication and is married with 3 kids. So everyone, please type in any comments, any questions, please interact. We want engagement, but I will turn it over and introduce Stacey Brown Randall. Thank you, Stacey, for your time. Thank you for our back and forth communication. I've been really blessed to pick up some nuggets from reading the book. It was an easy read. So for those of you, not a plug, but for those of you that get a moment, it's something to really pick up. It's an easy read, and it will definitely help you on how you approach your referral business. So everyone, welcome Stacey Brown Randall.
Thank you so much. You know, it's interesting. When the book was first published, I didn't know that the publisher was going to do this. But if you look on the back of your book, they actually say how long it should take you to read it. And I remember looking, being like, oh, it really is an easy read. Like, it's not that long at all. I don't remember the exact amount of time it takes, but definitely trying to write it so people could take some nuggets, like you said, implement it, and make their worlds better. But thank you guys for having me today. I am excited to be here. I am always excited to share a little bit about the referral journey and how I landed in a place about talking about referrals without asking. And that is very, very key. I always do a presentation like this, and somebody will always reach out to me afterwards. And they're like, okay, so if I do all the stuff you talk about, then can I ask? And my answer is always like, no, you can never ask. Nobody wants you to ask, and I don't want you asking. Now, I'm going to say this before I start sharing my slide deck. If you ask for referrals and it works for you, and so maybe you're here because you're just interested and like, hey, let me see what another side looks like, please keep in mind that we all get to be the grown-ups and make decisions for our business. So if there's a methodology that I may say I don't believe works or works as well as we want it to, and it works for you, that's okay. You get to do you. But as we go through this, what I would love for you to do is just keep an open mind of what it could look like to generate referrals without asking. And of course, if you hate the idea of asking, well, then you're absolutely in the right place. So we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little bit of PowerPoint presentation to go through with you guys. But of course, as you know, Olivier, just ask me questions as we go. We can dig into anything as we move through this. You guys ask your questions. I'll also share, save some time at the end so we can dig into any questions there. And I'll show you at the very end where you can connect with me and ask additional questions as we move forward. So let me share my screen. We just practiced this, so I should be able to do this right. We'll see, though. All right, let's pull up the PowerPoint.
Gotta love technology.
Oh, right, only when it works, though. All right, so here we go. All right, give me the verbal thumbs up.
You're in. We're good.
Perfect. Okay, great. Now, you guys just heard a little bit about me. I'm going to give the 12-second version because there's something else I want to share with you that sets up the why I'm here having this conversation with you. And that is actually that I'm a 3-time entrepreneur. And that does not mean I knew what I was doing and did it well every time. Sometimes that means you learn things from the school of hard knocks. I'm going to tell a little story about that in just a minute. I do like to think of myself as a business growth accelerator, helping people accelerate the growth of their business. And you guys are going to hear me talk about business owners and businesses, and that is exactly what you are. I know technically your IRS label is independent contractor, but you guys know this. You are the business owner and you are in charge of your destiny. And so I'm going to talk about it from that perspective. I am the creator of the Growth by Referrals program, as was already mentioned, author of Generating Business Referrals Without Asking, host of the Roadmap to Grow Your Business podcast. And here's one thing about me. By the end of our time together, you'll understand why I am so truly, truly obsessed with all things referrals. And it actually starts with me telling you a little story about how in the world did I land here, having this knowledge, this experience, and teaching it to hundreds and hundreds of business owners all around the world. And it starts with a story that is not necessarily a fun one to tell, but the beginning is so beautiful. So a number of years ago, back when I was like, I like to say back when I was like 12 years old, but of course not the case. But a number of years ago, I owned an HR consulting firm, and I had some pretty big name clients like KPMG, BDO, Ally Bank, Coca-Cola Consolidated Bottling Company. I had some really big name clients. Like if you know anything about KPMG and BDO, those are 2 of the 5 largest accounting firms. Actually, I think maybe not in the US, but in the world. So big name clients. I was published in some really well-respected publications, Accounting Today, World at Work, interviewed on Bloomberg News. From the outside looking in with my HR consulting firm, you would have thought that my business was doing incredibly well. But my business had a secret. And that secret would land me in this club. So my HR consulting firm would make it just past the 4-year mark, but would not make it to the 5-year mark of working with those amazing clients before I would land in the Business Failure Club. And yes, if you're wondering, I actually had my own membership badge created just so I could.
Did you create that? So you created that logo?
I totally did. If anybody else is a member of the Business Failure Club and you want it, just shoot me an email. I'll send you the JPEG of it. But what I realized is actually landing in the Business Failure Club and having to go back to corporate America. And you guys know what this is like. You have freedom. You've tasted it. I mean, freedom to work really hard. Like, it's not freedom to not do anything. When you're a business owner, it's like having that freedom and then showing back up in corporate America and like putting back on the suits and the high heels and all that stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not meant to be here. But I landed in this Business Failure Club. And so when I was there nursing my wounds and overcoming my ego hit and dealing with all the fallout that comes from having a business failure, emotionally, financially, psychologically, all the things, right? What I realized is I looked back and started paying attention to why did I fail? And why do others succeed? I realized that my secret, that my issue was that I wasn't consistently filling the pipeline. I could do great work. I could close a client when I was in front of them as a prospect, but I didn't have enough prospects coming into the top of that funnel, sometimes called a pipeline, right? I didn't have enough people coming in at the top so that I had enough people that would actually come out the bottom saying, yes, Stacey, we want to hire you. And so this was my issue, was figuring out how to bring in more prospects. So I ultimately, for 4 long years, rode this roller coaster. Now, your first year in real estate, sometimes your first or second year in real estate, you know what this roller coaster feels like. It is like the highs and the lows, the feasts and the famines, that I've got 4 closings next month, and then, ooh, I have no closings in June, July, or August, right? We know what this feels like. Business owners ride this roller coaster, and I was on it. And it's normal to ride this roller coaster of business ownership your first year, and in some cases, your second year. But I was still on it 4 years later with my HR consulting firm, which meant I would get a client, I'd put my head down, I'd do the work, I'd look up and be like, oh my gosh, there's no more work. Now I got to go hustle and get another client. And I rode this roller coaster consistently. Again, totally normal. Your first year or 2, you should get off of it though. Sometime around your second or third year, when you consistently figure out how you're going to fill your prospecting pipeline or your prospecting funnel. And for
Stacey,
me,
I'm going to chime in. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
That is such a key point because so many agents will put, especially the first couple of years, where they get so involved in the transactions and they put a couple deals together and it's managing the transaction that takes over their world and their business life. But then those deals close and they have no pipeline.
Nothing.
The funnel is dried up. And no matter what's going on, yes, you have to service your deals, you have to get them to close, but you also have to focus on keeping that funnel pipeline going. So that's a great point. It applies to not just the HR consulting business, but any business, and especially any business, but especially our real estate business. And I don't think I mentioned, I don't know if you were going to mention that you were a realtor at some point, right?
I was.
Yeah, because that helps tie everything together because you speak our jargon and understand our world.
Oh, yes. Well, it's interesting. I actually got my license back in 2006. And so this was before I started my business, my HR consulting firm. And I had a full-time job, but bore easily. And I was married, but did not have children yet. And my husband owned a restaurant for 14 years before he sold it a couple of years ago. So he wasn't around that much anyways. And working nights and weekends as a real estate agent was fine when he was as well as a restaurant owner. And so I got my license. I had a friend that worked with me at the company where we worked, and she was like, let's get our license. And I was like, so we did. And that was back in the day. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but in North Carolina, where I am, that was back in the day where you could get your license and then immediately sit for your broker in charge license as well, and actually be your own broker in charge without having done a single deal. It was 2006, right? It was crazy time back then. And so, but yes, I definitely understand the highs and lows of real estate and what that looks like from that perspective. But yeah, so this roller coaster, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. We all ride it. The goal is to get off of it so that you have sustainability in your business and finding the right rhythm and finding the right ways to fill your pipeline consistently. And it's the consistently is key to making everything easier in your world. And so the other secret that my business had, when I looked back at why I rode that roller coaster for 4 years, that HR consulting firm, I never received a single referral. Which means if I think about how I landed Ally Bank and Coca-Cola and KPMG, it was from a lot of hustle and a lot of hard work and a lot of networking. And when I had my HR consulting firm and was starting it, I also had babies. So as you can imagine, it was a little bit crazy. Jacob, my son, is 12 now, and he was 4 months old when I started the HR consulting firm. And so just a little nuts when you think about how much time and energy that meant, my hustle, my networking, getting all of my deals, getting all of my clients from my constant output of being places, being like in the networking, on the committees, serving on the boards, like all the things to get my business. And when I looked back over those 4 years and I was like, why'd I fail? I knew this was a key. The never getting a referral was a key. So I like to refer to myself back then as a referral amateur. And I'm guessing for some of you that are listening right now, you can probably relate. Now, that doesn't mean you've never gotten a single referral. You're probably better than I was back then, but you probably get them sporadically, or they just kind of show up and you're like, this is awesome, I want more, but you have no idea what it looks like to get more. And when you think about those referrals that do come in, right, there's that sporadicness to them, or when they come and you don't know why or how to duplicate those efforts, right, it leads us to start figuring out, well, how do I get more referrals? And so I want to walk through a couple of old school referral triggers. There's two big ones, I think, in your industry. I want to walk through a couple of old school referral triggers that you guys have been taught for generations. I was taught them when I was an agent. They actually permeate all industries for the most part. There's a couple of big ones. I want to focus on two, but the mindset that you have to shift to come away from what you've been told about how to get referrals, right? And then talk to you about a different way, because that's what I had to learn from that perspective of being a referral amateur. When we think about it, right, most people start out as a referral ninja beginner, right, if they're trying to build consistent referrals in their business. But that's not the only level, right, of being a referral ninja. This is how we teach generating referrals without asking. This is kind of our stepping stone process that we teach. Most people are a beginner. I was a beginner. Actually, I probably was like below a beginner level with my HR consulting firm. Where I want to take you is to the master level. Now, I can't take you to the master level in the time we have today, but I want you to understand the roadmap of where you're going, and then break down some some mindsets that I know you probably have, release them so then I can talk to you about some tactical things to do. And that's what I want you to be able to walk away with from today's presentation. And so what I would love, though, is to first, if you guys are willing, if you pull out your phone or open up another web browser, is to go to referralninjaquiz.com and let's actually figure out what level of a ninja you are. Are you a beginner? Do I have some masters on here? I want to know. There's another level in between. So we'll see what you guys are. Here's how the quiz works, though. When you go to referralninjaquiz.com, you click on the green button, you're going to answer 9 questions. I want you to move quickly because I don't want you to overthink your answers. But at the very end, you will need to put in your name and your email because that is how it's going to trigger your results to you. But which also means you're on my email list. But I want to stop the emails that are going to come right after taking this quiz because I'm going to teach you what those emails would teach you. So in that third box, just put in Remax. It's not case sensitive. And that'll stop like the trigger of the emails that typically come once someone takes this quiz on their own. So put in your name and your email and then Remax in that third box and answer those questions. And if you'll like monitor the comments, because what I would love is for people to hop into the comments and tell us what ninja level they are. You're going to pop up on a screen that's going to say, congratulations, you are A, or you're looking for the ninja on the screen and the colored belt that it is wearing. So if you'll monitor the comments, I would love to know what people are jumping in and saying they
absolutely. Have. So everyone attending, this is the interactive part of our training today. Please, I typed it in the comments. It's referralninjaquiz.com. Take a couple minutes, however long it's going to take, hopefully a minute or so. And please complete the ninja quiz to figure out how your referral process ranks. And please type in the comments where you rank and any questions you have.
Yeah, I always find that when people take this quiz, the majority of you, I'll go ahead and tell you this because there's been thousands and thousands of folks before you who have taken this quiz. And I'll give you the percentage breakdown once you guys report in your levels of where people fall. So no matter what level you fall in, at the beginner level, right, at our in-training level or at our master level, it's okay. There's one direction to go and that's up and we will get you there. Don't worry. But I do think it's really important for folks to kind of know where they're starting from. And when you take that quiz and you answer those questions, I'm going to unpack that quiz for you as we go throughout the rest of our time together so you can understand why you are at whatever level you're at and what it looks like to get you to the master level. I'll be quiet for a minute and just let folks finish that. And as the comments start rolling in, just go ahead and let us know what they're saying.
Got it. Got it. I yesterday spoke on one of your topics or points from the book, which was, and sorry, I'm obviously cutting ahead a little bit, but just something that really resonated with me was it's not just the touch points, it's making memorable connections, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Memorable and meaningful.
Memorable and meaningful, and not just the touches. The touches are needed, but you can't automate. It can't just be a newsletter. That really hit home because I have in the past, a lot of agents have turned to postcards as touch points, but that's pretty much, or newsletters is only their process to keep in touch. And those touches don't keep you top of mind if they're not memorable and meaningful. So I spoke about that yesterday at a training that we do every Tuesday, which was a great topic that really resonated with me. So thank you again for the nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll talk about that. I'm going to break down what exactly is it for folks who are like, what is he talking about? I will break that down for you exactly what it looks like in just a little bit so people can understand what we're talking about. And I will also share what I see folks doing in this industry in particular. So we have a lot of real estate agents that are in my program and that I work with. And it's funny, I was having a conversation with Larry Kendall on Monday from Ninja Selling, and he and I are having a conversation, and he's a big supporter of the work that I do. And I just happened to mention to him, I was like, I can always tell when a real estate agent has joined my program specifically by the questions that they ask as they're getting started, because I'm unpacking a lot of thought processes that they have been thinking about. So we'll be able to look at what it's not from a touch point perspective that I think people fall into because it's easy versus it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do we have anybody who's like the first, it's not scared to share their level in the comments?
Not yet.
Oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, not yet. I am looking at the comments. Not yet.
All right.
But let's say I landed at the beginner level. What would that mean?
Yeah, so let me show you, and I'll kind of walk through what this is. So there's 3 levels within our quiz. The first one is the Referral Ninja Beginner. Of the thousands who have taken this quiz, 84% typically land at this level. So if you think about that, this quiz has been out for a couple of years. We've had thousands and thousands of people take it, and 84% land here. About 13 to 14% will land at the blue belt level, which is our Referral Ninja in training, which means only about 2% of people who haven't learned from me yet will land at the Referral Ninja master level. And the big thing I tell folks to understand about this quiz is that there's 3 things that separate a master, right? Or that separate a beginner from being a master. And that is number 1, your mindset. The mindset that you have about referrals and if you deserve them will separate you and keep you from being a master. Also, the actions that you take, but the third thing being the results those actions produce. So it's the type of actions, the right actions, and then the results that they produce. A lot of people say, when they think about being at that master level, I'm like, you can't be a master if you're not getting more referrals than you've gotten before. Like that is how we look at our success and our ROI on what it looks like to become a Referral Ninja Master. So it's not only how you think, it's also the actions that you take. And then of course, it's the results that you have. And this is how we break down our framework when somebody lands at the beginner or in training level and what we're going to walk them through. And this is how we kind of break it all down from a framework perspective of helping you get the right mindset in place, the right knowledge foundation, and start taking the right foundational actions, and then helping you hit a growth trajectory in the in-training level, and then moving you to that master level, which that's where I want you all to be. But I also know that it is an improvement cycle that you keep doing to get better and better. And we have people who've gone through my program who are now have built their referral plan for their 7th year, and they consistently hit their goal of number of referrals they want every year and have been for the last 6 years. So this isn't a, hey, let's try this for 3 months and see what happens. Like this is a sustainable piece of how I want you to run your business. But before we really dive in to, okay, let's break down pieces of the framework and what's the one big tactical thing I should do today, Stacey, to get started, because obviously I don't have time to teach you everything. Before we get to that, I want to make sure people first understand, for those of you who landed at the beginner level, or the in-training level, is not your fault.
And I will say this, Stacey, we did get a lot of comments. They poured in the minute you went into it. We got about 9 to 10 at the beginner level, a couple at the training level. So thank you guys for going on Referral Ninja Quiz, as well as putting in what the different color belts and everything, your levels.
Perfect. Yeah. And that's exactly how I would expect to see it, right? I wouldn't be surprised if I had 1 or 2 masters that also take the quiz and land there. It falls into the statistics of 84, right? Around 84, 85%, 13 and 2%. So, but here's what I want you to know. No matter what level you are for a beginner or in training, it's not your fault. And it comes down to some old school referral triggers of how you have been taught to think about referrals and the actions and the scripts you're supposed to use when it comes to generating referrals. What I want to do is very quickly unpack 2 of those old school referral triggers and then show you exactly where they came from. Every strategy, every tactic, every methodology that anybody teaches, from Tony Robbins all the way down, right? There's a philosophy behind it that drives the actions, the tactics, the methodologies. Mine is no different. But before I teach you mine, I also want to make sure you understand the things you've heard forever and the other, folks in this space, in the referral space, particularly in the real estate market, or industry, but in all of them, where their tactics actually come from, and break that down for you so you can put it in perspective, because I then need you to bless it and release it and be focused and looking at referrals differently. So the first one is the one you guys know. Hopefully it's the reason why you're here today. It's because you don't want to do this one, right? You don't want to ask, but you've been taught that if you want referrals, you have to ask. And if you read the books, go to the sales trainings, take the courses, right? Go through the process and the coaching, or you go to Google and you're like, tell me how to get referrals. You get hit with things like this: 3 steps to asking for referrals today. Get more referrals by asking. Ask for referrals. How do you get more and better referrals? Don't be afraid to ask. Number 1 rule of referral selling: always ask in person or on the phone. 7 ways to ask for referrals. And here's my favorite, folks: 25 ways to ask for a referral without looking desperate. Okay, I'm just going to go out on a ledge here and call it what it is. If you need 25 ways to not look desperate, how do you actually think it's because you look desperate?
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
If we have to teach you ways to overcome something that is naturally not comfortable for you, sometimes we need to check our gut and figure out, is this one of those moments where I need to grow and get uncomfortable? Or is this one of those times when I recognize this is not the right strategy for me because I'm fighting it so very much? There are lots of times we need to push ourselves out of our comfort zone and get a little uncomfortable to be successful in business. Referrals, though, my friend, in my opinion, this is not one of them. All right. So we have all this advice around asking for referrals. The other big one I see in your industry is also making your referrals promotional, making them very marketing and promotional and almost gimmicky in nature. So I'll see things like this. It's the extra pack of gum with a little note that says, I'll go the extra mile for your referrals, or the bag of goldfish with the note that says, I'm fishing for your referrals, right? This is where the pendulum swings all the way to one side within mostly the real estate industry. I don't see this in some of the other industries that I work in as much, but there is one that permeates all industries, and it's a big one in real estate as well. And it's putting something like this in your email signature or in your newsletter or in your social media's post. The best compliment you can give me is a referral. Oh, by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Don't keep me a secret, right? These things were new and novel 10 plus years ago. And so they had a little bit of an impact. Now people are expecting them. They don't even notice them anymore, and they're not having the intended impact. So it feels promotional. It feels gimmicky, particularly if I'm getting something from one real estate agent and then I get the exact same thing from another real estate agent, right? And it all looks the same. Now, there's another big old school referral trigger in your industry, and that's actually the networking one. You got to know a bunch of people to be able to get referrals. And that is also not necessarily true either. You got to know people who can refer you, but that know a whole bunch of people, no one's ever going to have hundreds and hundreds of referral sources. That's not what we're looking for. That's not actually what we need. And I'll walk you through what that looks like as well.
Stacey, I'm going to say I'm never too busy for a referral, or the best compliment you can give me is a referral. You highlighted a great point in the book where it's making it about you, right? It's not about helping others. It's really about you. And that's kind of the aha moment or the light bulb moment. And that's why it's, to your point, every realtor has that on their back of their business card, probably half or more of the agents on this, including me. You know, I used to practice that as well. But it's like you said, it's expected and it's not even noticed because they see it every single time.
Everywhere. Absolutely. And I'll walk through when we get a little further in and I define referrals for you, I will talk a little bit about exactly what you said. Referrals aren't about you. Like, we think they're about us because we're getting a new client. Someone's trusting us to take care of someone they know, but you're not actually the reason the referral is happening in the first place. And so I'll dig into that as well. It's really, when I tell folks, the way I want you to think about referrals, you have to pay attention to the human dynamic and the psychology behind why they work in the first place and why they happen in the first place. And that's how we unpack some of these old school referral triggers. So why is asking and networking and being overly promotional and gimmicky the big ones, right? That are people are teaching and have been teaching for generations, right? Probably even back when I was in diapers, why they've been teaching the same strategies over and over and over again. And it actually comes down to how we teach a typical sales strategy. There's a number one thing, well, there's two things actually that I'm going to ask you to do. One is to shift your mindset very specifically before you leave today with me. And the second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to take a very first step so you can go down this path and start on this journey if you're interested. But for you to be able to shift your mindset and to take the one big action I'm going to ask you to take, you have to understand the typical sales strategy and where these old school triggers and the old school ways of teaching referrals come from. A typical sales strategy comes from, you have to have a prospecting side and you have to have a marketing side, right? This probably sounds very familiar for you guys. In your prospecting plan, we know it's short-term mentality, right? Maybe it's going to those networking groups. Maybe I'm going to farm a neighborhood. Maybe I'm going to do cold calling or cold emailing. Maybe I'm going to do 7 million cups of coffee every day. Now we're just doing them virtually, but we used to do them in person, right? Maybe I'm going to stack those coffee meetings up starting at 8 a.m. and not ending till 11 a.m., right? Whatever it is, prospecting is that short-term mentality. Go and meet somebody and hope that they want to use you as their real estate agent, right? Sometimes it is growing to know more people, but really prospecting comes down to, hey, I'm looking to get another deal in my pipeline. The end user of our prospecting messaging is typically the prospect. I'm going to go to that networking group hoping to meet somebody who needs an agent. I'm going to make that cold call to that for sale by owner and hope that they answer the phone and talk to them about letting me list their house, right? So from that perspective, prospecting is necessary, right? Do not hear me say you should not have prospecting. You should. You should have prospecting and marketing. You should also have something else though, which I'll get to in a minute. But if I think about referrals from a prospecting perspective, right? If I think about short-term mentality, how do I get you to the prospect as quick as possible? How do I get you the actions, or how do I get you in front of somebody who can say yes to working with you? Then the advice that I would teach if I was thinking about referrals from a prospecting mentality is telling you to ask for them. And in some cases, pay for them, which doesn't really work so much in your industry because you guys can get paid for referrals. A lot of other industries, it is a kickback. It is an under the table type thing. But that is where the asking advice comes from, is if I'm thinking about referrals and I'm making them fit in the prospecting bucket, I'm going to teach you then, the tactic I'm going to teach you is to ask. On the marketing side, marketing is a little longer term mentality. The activities are we have a website, right? Maybe we do social media. Maybe we go for earned PR, right? We're trying to get our name in an article or whatever. Maybe we do advertising, whether that's in a magazine, on a billboard, or maybe it's some Facebook ads, right? There are activities we do that are marketing in nature, but the end user of those messages is still our prospect. Every time you post that you have a client who just sold their house or just bought their first dream home and you post it on social media, right? That is a form of marketing. Again, marketing is good. Everybody should have a prospecting plan. Everybody should have a marketing plan. But if I think referrals fit within that marketing plan, well, that is where the tactic of being promotional and gimmicky comes from. It's a marketing message, right? And I'm still thinking the end user is the prospect. But this is where the rub actually happens, because you've got prospecting, you've got marketing, and everybody else is teaching you to slam referrals into prospecting mentality or into marketing mentality. And that's just not what you need based on how referrals actually work. What you need is a real way, an authentic way that honors who you are and the people who are going to refer you, to really have an authentic, sustainable way to generate referrals. That's ultimately what you need. So before I show you exactly what that is, I just want you to know there are people who've been right where you are who are deciding, is this going to work for me? I'm trying to decide if I want to get on the Stacey train, right? And think about this from that perspective. So this is Melissa. I just want you to know there are people before you, agents and others, that have done this. And Melissa averaged about 16 referrals a year, but she just started with me, working with me and implementing her referral plan, which is what we're about to talk about. And she received 16 referrals, right? So right there, it's like getting that yearly average and getting it done right away, which is great for her to do that in 3 months versus an entire year, right? This is David. Again, this doesn't work just for agents. It works for other industries too. He's a financial advisor, 3 referrals per year, but he implemented a different type of plan, which I'm about to break down for you. And that's more than quadrupled his referrals and increased the number of people referring him. And Stacey, this is another agent. She went from 6 or 7 referrals in a year. Then she put a referral plan in place. She got to 12, and then she got 12 in 1 quarter the very next year. So these are people who are sitting right where you sat and decided, okay, I got prospecting, I got marketing, but what else do I need to do to really generate my referrals if I take referrals out of prospecting and out of marketing? Well, what they did first is they decided to think differently. And how they decided to think differently was to have prospecting, to have marketing, but create a 3-legged stool to their sales strategy and create their referral plan. So you have to be willing to think differently first and recognize, okay, prospecting, good. Marketing, good. Now I need to add a referral plan and I need to do things different, which means I needed to take some different action. So let me give you the overview of what a referral plan is. And then let me break down for you what a referral is, just to make sure we're on the same page. And then that one big action I want you guys to take for me. And it will feel like a small action or maybe a big one, depending on how you keep data in your business. But it is the one thing that I know will tell you and enlighten you and say, I want to go on this journey to learn more, or maybe I'm good just where I am. So here's the plan that your sales strategy is missing. And this is our referral plan. And it's the one that people always kind of overlook in terms of actually having a plan, right? If we want consistent referrals, that consistent trigger and process, we've got to build a plan, just like you do prospecting and marketing. But here's the thing. I need you playing the long game. Yes, I want you to have success like Melissa had and Stacey had quickly, or even like David had in that first 3 months, the first year, whatever it is, the second year, the 6th year. But I want you to ultimately have success year after year after year. So when I talk about there's someone in the program that's been in it 6 years, 40 plus referrals every single year. She's not a real estate agent, but she only needs 12 referrals a year. And she got 47 last year. And that was her 6th year hitting her goal of referrals received because she has a referral plan she executes on every single year. She still does her prospecting and her marketing, but this is a plan she looks at differently. So what is it? This is planned outreach that, as you guys just heard us talking about, is memorable and meaningful so that it keeps you top of mind while planting referral seeds. Okay, here's the thing, folks. Who's the end user of our referral plan? Our referral sources. The end user of prospecting and marketing are prospects, people who can use you to buy a house or use you to list their house, right? They can work with you to do those things. Prospects are the end user of prospecting and marketing. The end user of a referral plan, though, are our referral sources, the people who know the prospect and are going to bring them to you. Your goal of a referral plan is to build an authentic relationship with those referral sources. And this planned outreach is what we call touch points, where you're actually going to make sure you're staying top of mind by being memorable and meaningful with these referral sources. Now, the way that this breaks down, every referral plan for every person I've ever worked with looks totally different. And how we decide what is memorable and meaningful for us is we first understand who the heck are we doing it for? Because once you know who your referral sources are, trust me, guys, the light bulb's going to go off. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. I know how to take care of these people, right? I know what it looks like to take care of these folks. But here's what I see a lot in real estate, that it's not. It's not your newsletter. It's not that email newsletter that you send out or that printed newsletter you send out or that magazine that you mail. Those are prospecting and marketing tactics. Keep them. I'm not telling you to stop them, but just don't think about them as part of a touch point in your referral plan. Your database that reminds you every 62 days, hey, you haven't talked to this person. Now it's time to send them a text message or a voicemail and say, what's up? And you wonder why after a while they stop returning your calls because the conversation is the same, because you're actually digging for something specific, right? There's that idea from that perspective of prospecting and marketing. Again, I'm not saying not to do those things from a prospecting and marketing perspective, but once you enter the referral world and once you create this referral plan, this isn't about you. This is about them. And to know how to be memorable and meaningful and how to stay top of mind really comes down to who these people are. But the thing that makes you get more referrals or receive more referrals within your referral plan, of course, is the language that you use. We call them referral seeds. It is the secret sauce, obviously, of what I teach to the folks who go through my program of how do we honor that relationship, maintain authenticity, come from a place of gratitude and thankfulness, because you should be thankful and grateful for your referral sources, but also use specific language so that they'll think of us from a referral perspective.
Stacey, I'm going to
Yes.
interrupt again. So my understanding is there's a difference because marketing and prospecting is great, but for your referral sources, it should be more relationship building versus marketing to them.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, think about your marketing languages, right? I mean, when you're marketing, right, you're using a specific type of language and you're using specific types of tactics to get people to think about buying and selling, right? With referral sources, right, that's not what they need to think of you as the agent they refer to. What they need is to have a relationship with you. They know you're an agent, they have referred to you, right? Or maybe it's someone you want to have refer to you, right? Once they know you're an agent and what you do, they don't refer to you because you send them the market analysis email every single month, or you send them some, magazine every quarter. That's not what makes them refer to you. What makes them refer to you is knowing that you're thankful and grateful for who they are and what they do for your business, and that you don't let those things go unnoticed. The biggest issue I see when people come into my Growth by Referrals program is that moment when they get through like the first and second module and they have this moment of oh my gosh, I've been ignoring these people and I haven't been consistent or even really doing the right type of outreach to them to let them know how much I value them. Because we get caught up in the busyness of life, right? In terms of sometimes people forget to even say thank you for the referrals that they've just received.
Yep.
right? So what's the first step? It's the same step Melissa and David and Stacey took that I just introduced you guys to. Everybody has the same first step. And I teach the same first step to everybody because here's the thing. I know some of you right now are sitting and thinking to yourself, what do I do? What are my touch points? What does it mean to be memorable and meaningful? What does it mean to plant referral seeds? You want to get to the how and the what so quickly, but none of it matters until you know who you're doing it for, because who your referral sources are will dictate the what you do. So yes, I definitely want you to take the first step, which is to identify who are your referral sources, right? We call it IDing the who. I'm going to walk you through 3 quick steps of exactly how to do that, because this is your big action from today's training. We're going to make today worth it for you to spend this hour with me, which means you're going to go do this process and then you can report it. You don't have to report into me, report into an accountability partner, right? Report into whoever you want, that you've identified your referral sources. But we do this very specifically. Now, your not so future step is, yes, I want you to build that referral plan, but just pump the brakes for a minute on wondering what you're supposed to do and what those touch points look like and what does it mean to be memorable and meaningful, right? There's details of that in the book as well. I know you guys got copies. So there's pieces there to get you started, but it's just not the right first question. It's the who are you going to be building this plan for? So let me quickly define referral so that you can then also define who your referral sources are. So a referral always comes from a real live human, and we always want to capture their first and last name. Most of you, if you're using a database, you're probably doing this. For some of you, if you're not, that's okay. You got to go back and you got to figure out who these referral sources are. I'll walk you through how to do that. But remember, when you receive a referral, it's got 2 parts. You're always connected to the prospect, to that future buyer, that future seller, or that future investor. You're always connected to the prospect by your referral source, because that's where the trust transfer happens. Of the thousands of realtors I could hire in your area, the reason why I'm choosing to talk to you is because somebody said I should and they vouched for you. So that personal connection is there. And number 2, I got to know I'm a prospect. I got to know I'm a buyer or a seller, right? I need to be willing to have a conversation with a real estate agent because that's a need that I have. So having a need identified. People confuse word of mouth buzz and introductions and warm leads with referrals all the time. But there's always these 2 key pieces that are going to be there for a referral. You're connected to them. And of course, the need is identified in them, so they know they're the prospect. It's what moves them through the know, like, and trust factor and that sales continuum so much faster. In my world, this is exactly what this looks like. Stacey, meet Cindy. She and I were talking the other day about her need to grow her business, and I instantly thought of you. I told her you can help her generate referrals without asking. Please connect to schedule time to talk. I'm connected to Cindy, and I know Cindy knows that Cindy needs referrals without asking, or at least she's open to the idea that that's one way she can grow her business. That is what a real referral looks like. A lot of you are told by clients and others in the community, oh my gosh, I was just talking about you to somebody else. They're getting ready to have some friends move into the area. And I told them all about you. And I even gave them your name and number. They're totally going to follow up. And you're like, great. And then they don't follow up, right? Because you weren't connected to them. It's just word of mouth buzz, right? So there are things that we understand about. If we know it's not a referral, then we can flip it into one, but we have to recognize what a referral is when it shows up. And then here are these 3 steps to identify your referral sources. Now, chapter 8 of the book is going to outline this for you as well. So you can go back. I know you guys all got copies. So you guys can go back through that and really kind of dig into this if this is too high level for you. For some of you, this is going to give you exactly what you need. The easiest way to do this is to pull a list of your clients. If you're in a CRM, should be easy. Maybe you have it saved in Excel. Maybe you don't track this stuff the way you should, and you're going to have to pull out a piece of paper and a pen and do a little walk down memory lane. I want you to pull a list of your clients. At a minimum, pull your list of your clients from first quarter 2021, new clients 2021, and all of 2020. If you want a gold star, I want you going all the way back to 2017, 2018. So I want your clients from 2017, 18, 19, and 2020. 4 years is ideal. 3 years is okay too. If you've only been an agent for a year, you work with what you got, okay? Then you're going to identify the source of how that client learned about you, right? Did they work with you at a previous company when you were not a real estate agent and they just decided to use you? That's fine too. Sorry about that. Get rid of those. When you identify who they are and how they learned about you, it just depends on exactly where they came from. Okay. Sources can include cold calls or emails. Maybe that's how they learned about you. You called the for sale by owner, you called the expired listing, and you got them to come on board as a client. Maybe you were doing networking. Maybe you were farming a neighborhood. Maybe they called because they saw your sign in the yard. Maybe they came to an open house that you were working, Facebook ads that you're running, and of course, referrals. And if it's a referral, I want you to capture the first and last name of your referral source. Now, you could have a list of 100 clients. You could have a list of 30 clients, and your sources could be a variety. What we're looking for, though, are the clients that were referred to you. So if you remove the ones that came through an open house or they called because of the sign or the farming of the neighborhood, if you remove all the non-referred clients from your list, I find it easiest to do this in Excel because you can sort and then delete lines, right? Then that's going to create your list of your referral sources and the clients they referred to you. Really, really simple. Again, step-by-step detail in chapter 8 of the book. I know you guys all got copies. This is the most important thing, and I cannot implore you enough on this. This is the most important thing to do this, because every time I have somebody who does this process and then tells me about it, they're like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm seeing my business through a different lens for the first time. And for some of you, it's going to be like, look at all these people who've referred me, and I just need to take care of them and I can get more referrals, which is great. For some of you, you're going to look at that list and you'll be like, wait a minute, I spent a ton of time with Bob and Sarah and Joe, and they're not on my list at all. Like, they tell me they refer me, but it actually didn't show up at all in terms of any clients that they've referred to me. So you're also going to recognize who you thought was on the list isn't. You're also going to see some names on that list and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to that person in 9 months. Shame on me. Right? So you're going to learn and see and experience a lot of emotions probably when you go through this list. Now, if you want this list in its totality, I want you to go back through it with your prospects, those that you talked to, but decided not to either move forward with hiring you or even move forward with selling or buying, right? So you can do this with clients and then do it one more time for the gold star with prospects. And that gives you that totality list you're after. This is your big assignment. This is the one piece I want you guys to go through. And of course, you guys know what my book is, Generating Business Referrals Without Asking, but we talk about this stuff on my podcast and in my Facebook group as well, which is a free Facebook group. But this concept, let me stop sharing for a minute. This concept of what it ultimately looks like to truly understand and to truly start putting a process in place, it starts with knowing who your referral sources are. That is the light bulb moment. That is the moment when people see it and they're like, okay, now I'm ready to do some work. Now I'm ready to create that referral plan to take care of these people to get more referrals from them. But the crazy thought is that's still just one layer of our overall referral strategy. It is just the most critical of building a plan to take care of our existing referral sources. It's just the most critical. It's where we all start. And it's the one I want you guys to start with. And you start by identifying your referral sources.
That's a great point, because so many agents don't have a plan and don't track the referral sources. There's a quick thank you, maybe a gift card sent, maybe a text message sent to thank the person that referred them. But that's really it. And I've interviewed agents and asked them, well, how do you grow your business? What's your biggest lead source? And they say referrals. And I ask, well, what's your system or plan? And they say, I don't have one. They just come to me, right? And you're spot on that by tracking it, you can then grow it, measure it, et cetera. And then put a plan in place on what to do and how to get more referrals, as your previous examples with your previous clients. Generating 12 referrals in 1 quarter, that's huge. If she went from 12 the year before. But if you're not tracking it, guys, and you don't have a plan in place, then it comes in as it goes, and that's the peaks and valleys and the roller coaster, which Stacey mentioned earlier.
Yep. And here's the thing I see a lot, though, when agents get started with this process. Guys, remember, a client that comes back to you that maybe you sold or helped them buy a house or sell their house 5 years ago, and then they come back around, they don't refer themselves. That's a repeat client. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you're building out your list of referral sources. If someone is a repeat client, they get removed from the list as well, because it's got to be somebody. A referral, when we think about that personal connection, is when somebody else puts their reputation on the line in recommending you. So when I come back to work with you for the second time, I'm not putting my reputation on the line with anybody else, right? So you've got to make sure that you are removing the repeat clients. And then the other thing I tell the folks is categorize out your referral sources, right? Clients is going to be the number one way for most agents that they generate referrals is their clients referring them to other clients, but it's not the only. And the top two are going to be clients and then centers of influence, right? It's people who know what you do, but don't do what you do. So there's no competitive overlap. And they come across with some level of regularity, the opportunity to refer you. And so when you're looking at your referral sources, identify, are these previous clients or are these centers of influence, right? Are these other people within my network? It's a smaller group. I'm not talking about the thousands of people you know in your network. It's a smaller group that we call COIs. That's not to say family and friends can't refer you, but what I've learned about family and friends is when you're first getting started as an agent, they're like all about helping you be successful. They're like, oh my God, who do I know? I'm thinking about you in the Starbucks line. I'm in the grocery store line. I'm telling everybody, oh my God, my daughter just became an agent, right? Oh my gosh, my cousin just became an agent. Oh, my uncle just became an agent. After about a year, I'm like, you sink or swim, buddy. Like, good luck. Like I kind of got busy with my life. In the beginning, I love you, right? You're my college roommate. You're my sorority sister. You're my uncle. You started this journey as being an agent and I'm thinking about you. And then at some point along the lines, I stopped thinking about you. Now, can you have family and friends that refer you for the next 10 years? Of course. But if you have somebody in your family or friendship that actually refers you every year, I'm like, pull them up above the line and put them into the center of influence bucket because they need to be a part of your referral plan. But we only create a referral plan for our clients that refer us and our centers of influence that refer us. And that's important for people to remember because a referral plan can't be for everybody you know. You won't have the budget to execute on it or the time. And so from that perspective, we do need to get really clear on who are these referral sources, who have they referred, and what's their category? Are they a client? Are they a COI? Or are they a family member or friend? And will they probably never refer again after they referred that one or two times? There's some discernment that needs to happen when you're looking and evaluating your list.
Great.
See if there's any. Have there been any questions that have come through that I didn't want to miss any? I haven't been paying attention.
I just typed in to type in any questions literally as we segue back to sharing the screen.
Okay.
But I have a question. How often can you reach out? What's the right amount of touches?
Yeah. So I always tell folks that typically when you're doing your referral plan for the first year, you're going to fall somewhere between 4 and 8 touch points, but really you're going to fall between 6 and 8. Most people that I work with are going to be between 6 and 8 touch points. And if they turn in a plan to me that only has 4 and it's their first year, I usually push back and I'm like, it's not enough. Right. And remember, this isn't like I'm going to send you a card 4 times a year, right? Like that's not what we're talking about. That's not as memorable and meaningful as you think it could be. And so from that perspective, right, we're looking at it as 4 to 8, but most first and second years are going to fall in that 6 to 8 range. I mentioned Amanda, the attorney who just built her plan at the end of last year for the 7th time. So her 2021 plan is for the 7th time. She's in the same area as me. We can get away with like 4. Or sometimes 3 touch points in a year because we have been nurturing our referral sources and they know this is an authentic relationship. And that's the other thing. And I hope I always assume people understand that, but let me just hit the nail on the head one more time here. When we're connecting in that memorable and meaningful way with our referral sources, it's because we value them. And it has to come from a place of gratitude and thankfulness. They make your life easier. Right? They hand you a client and like, here you go. I told them you're amazing. Now go be amazing. Right? Like they make our life easier. So it would make sense that we would want to take care of them and to take care of them in a way that's all about them. Right? You learned in the book about the 3 platinum principles. And platinum principle number 1 is it's all about them. The touch points, the outreach that you do, those 4 to 8, really 6 to 8 touch points in a year, it's all about them. It's not what's easy for you. And so when we think about these touch points, it's about nurturing the relationship with them and letting them know how much we value them. And that's what makes it so different from that email newsletter they get from you once a month or the magazine that shows up in the mail once a quarter, right? Or that every 62 days you seem to be texting me with the same text. Hey, how's it going? Just wanted to check in, right? With the same messaging. Yeah. This is about connecting with these people in a different way. But guys, think about this. Most people who go through the process and identify, right? Most people who go through this process and identify their referral sources, Some of you are only going to have a handful. Some of you may have a dozen. Some of you may have 24 or more, but we're still not looking at this from the perspective that we need 50 to 100. I mean, some of you may want that. And if you have a team, every person on the team has their own referral source relationships and, of course, their own plan. So even when we take our large teams and we look at it still by the individual agent that's actually generating those referrals in, you don't need hundreds of referral sources. You probably need a couple dozen. And if those couple dozen are giving you a referral or two a year, you're probably going to have a really good base of the way your business comes in the door. And that's before any of your prospecting and marketing has worked as well with how you'll bring in other clients. So it is a different shift in mentality, but it's also paying attention that these are real humans who put their reputation on the line to recommend you, and they could recommend anybody, and they choose you. And what they really want ultimately, and they won't tell you this, is that to be acknowledged and recognized that they matter to you. And that's what it means to be memorable and meaningful. And you can do those in really small ways by writing a handwritten thank you card after somebody refers you, right? And you can do those in bigger ways as well. And it just depends on you and what you want to do. But as long as you're doing it based on what they need, you're going to hit a home run. But you can't decide what to do until you know the who. You got to go through that process of identifying your referral sources.
That's a great point. I always tell agents, you have to know who your audience is. You know, with your social media posts, with any of your marketing, you have to keep it true to your audience. So you have to know who your referral audience is as well. That's amazing. And to piggyback on what you mentioned, it's quality over quantity, right? You're better off having 6 to 8 touch points that are meaningful and memorable versus 12 newsletters or postcards that
or
just
24 cards in a year.
Yeah, that don't keep you top of mind. The minute you get it, it's like, oh, him or her, and then it's in the garbage. So great point. We have 2 questions. I don't know if you want to wait to the end or just.
No. Yeah, let's ask them.
Okay, NJ Homes and Farms has one question. What is the best way to add new clients to a referral system?
So one thing I want you guys to understand is that our referral strategy is a layered approach. So actually, if you can type Olivier for us in the comments, there's a place you can go and get a PDF. You can just download it for free. It's a PDF and it shows you the 6 layers of the referral strategy. So you're just going to go to staceybrownrandall.com/layers. And don't forget, Stacey has an E. So staceybrownrandall.com/layers. And you can download this 1-page PDF that shows you how the 6 layers connect together. If I had it in front of me, I'd put it up on the screen. And we've been breaking down these 6 layers on the podcast since the beginning of the year. And so what I taught you today is layer number 1. And that is where everybody has to start to determine if you have a layer number 1, which is existing referral sources. Layer number 2 is potential referral sources. It's the people you wish were referring you, but have never done it. What process do you follow? What language do you use to turn them into referral sources? So layer number 1, existing referral sources. It's a plan we build. Layer number 2, potential or soon to be referral sources. It's a plan we build. Layers 3, 4, 5, and 6 are more language tactic based. And so it's the tools in your toolbox I want you to have so that you know what to say when you're dealing with a referred prospect or a non-referred prospect to plant some referral seed language to see if, hey, maybe this person would refer me down the road. How do I use that language? That's layer 3 and 4. Layer 5 is specific to NJ Holmes' question, which is clients, right? You can't just add a client to an existing referral source list if they've never referred you. So if you've identified a client that you want to refer you, they need to meet some criteria, right? But then you would put them in layer number 2 and you'd start cultivating them as a referral source, try to turn them into one, right? That's layer number 2. But for all clients, you can kind of just plant some referral seeds and see kind of what happens as well when they're going through the client experience with you. And so learning that client experience, what it looks like from a referral strategy with your new clients and with your clients and that client experience, that's actually layer number 5. Then layer number 6 is networking. It's like, what do you do? How do you plant some seeds? Use the language tactics in a networking opportunity, like flipping a non-referral into a referral, planting engagement seeds. So I never teach all of this to somebody immediately because it's overwhelming and we retain 25% of what I said today anyway. So that's not good, right? So from that perspective, that's why the PDF is there. And I always tell folks, start with layer 1, and then it'll build into all the other things you need to know and understand. And of course, those are the things I teach, right? I mean, that's what my business is all about. Those are the things I teach, is like how to take you from layer 1 to layer 2, and then make sure you know all the language tactics. And not even all those tactics do I teach to somebody when they first start in my program, because that would overwhelm them. I need to get a foundation built with layer number 1, add layer number 2, and then add in the other layers as we need them. Unfortunately, we just can't run before we can walk.
Great. And one other question, what is the best way to nurture out-of-state referral golden nuggets?
So are we talking about clients or people that you know, or real estate agents that are referring you from out of state?
I believe that's a good question for NJ Homes and Farms. I don't have a name, but I don't know if she's referring to out-of-state agents or clients. What is the best way to nurture out-of-state referral golden nuggets?
Let me answer it both ways. I'll just answer it for both ways. So
there you go.
If it's folks who are not an agent, so you are not paying them when they refer you, that commission piece, right? If it's not an agent, so let's look at non-agents that are out of state that refer you, they're part of your referral plan. Now, does that mean you can go have coffee with them because they're out of state? Nope, right? Because they're not local. Plans can be built any way they need to be built. The way I build my plan, right? I don't think there's hardly any of my top referral sources that are local. I mean, we've got business owners and agents in 10 different countries all around the world in my program, and that some of them refer me. And so I've never even met them, but I can still create a referral plan. It's not going to be based on this face-to-face type interaction. But the plan answers all those questions in terms of how are you going to nurture them. It's just not going to be face-to-face stuff, right? There's the other things that you're going to be able to do that'll nurture them from that client perspective. And so whether it's clients that have moved out of state or just people who know you.
She did mean clients. Sorry,
Perfect.
She did mean clients. Yep.
I saw that. And then I would say for those of you sitting there thinking, well, what do we do for agents out of state that refer us, right? Remember, there's a commission happening for them. And so finding the best agent that they can refer their people to and knowing they're getting a commission back is typically all they need. That's not like you couldn't put them into your referral plan, but I also tell agents it's also not necessary, but maintaining a relationship with them is important. So you do want to figure out how you're going to stay in communication. They just don't typically need 6 to 8 touch points a year. If they're getting compensated every time they refer to you, they need you as much as you need them. And so that relationship can look a little bit different.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Perfect. Awesome.
All right. Are you sharing your screen again or?
No, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, guys, if there are any other questions, please put them in the comments box. We'd love to answer. But so far, Stacey, this has been great unpacking a lot of this stuff. And it's really the mindset and process, right? I think the mindset that it's not about us, it's about helping and being genuine with the people that could refer you and appreciating the referrals. That's kind of the seed. And then the process, are you tracking? Do you have a plan? Do you have a system around it? Or do you just text message when someone's running late to an appointment? And that's kind of your follow-up to generate referrals with your past clients. Or do you actually have a system that you can execute, track, and definitely monetize because it's working? So I think that's my takeaways. But anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I mean, I think that we have been able to have a really great conversation and kind of digging in to first helping you guys think differently, because default habits are strong and default ways of thinking are very, very strong. And I know we just scratched the surface in terms of you guys being willing and open to thinking about referrals differently. But this is also an ongoing commitment you have to make if this is what you're ultimately looking for, right? This is that ongoing commitment to, I'm going to think about referrals differently. I'm going to take different actions. I'm going to have a different belief pattern around it, right? And then I'm going to make this work and be consistent with those actions and mindset and belief. And so that's what I always tell folks, is that I don't ever want to be anyone's new bright shiny object. I know there are people where I become that because they're like, oh, referrals without asking, so exciting. Let me get the book. Let me listen to the podcast, right? Maybe they go through the program. But I want you to go through the program. I want you to read the book. I want you to get what you need from me wherever you need to get it, whether that's through my free resources or paid resources. And I want you to say, this is a commitment I'm going to make. And I'm going to be like Amanda. And one day Stacey's going to be on a presentation like this talking about how 6 years ago I started, and now here's my results. And here's my results every year since, and how I grew that. And that's what I want. I want sustainability in your business. And here's the final thought I would leave you guys with. I know without a shadow of a doubt that if I had had this referral strategy and my initial referral plan in place, and I knew how to cultivate people into referral sources with my HR consulting firm, with my first business that failed, it never would have failed. Because I would have gotten off the roller coaster, right? I would have recognized how to build that, how to fill that pipeline consistently. And ultimately what that means for me, right, is that I wouldn't be here today. So I'm super glad it failed. And I'm super glad I got to learn all the things that I learned. But I also know that from that perspective, right, when you think about it from that perspective, is ultimately you've got to be willing to think about referrals differently. And so NJ Holmes just made another comment. I just saw that one come in too. I've been doing Buffini method for years and get referrals, but can up my game. Yeah. So here's the thing. What I'm going to teach you is going to ask you to think differently and to take different actions than what Buffini asks you to do. We have a lot of agents who come from the Buffini methodology and come into my program. And everything works for people the way it's supposed to work for folks. So again, there is a program, especially in the real estate world, there is somebody selling you guys something all the time. There's a program for everything. There's a coach for everything. But I will tell you that if you start to do referrals my way, there are things in other programs that you're going to have to release and let go of if you want my program to work for you the way that it's supposed to, because we can't contradict the relationship by being overly promotional and gimmicky and marketing and asking, and then trying to nurture these relationships in a very, very different way. There's a contradiction of how it's going to land with your referral source, and it'll start to feel inauthentic. And the minute my program feels inauthentic for your referral source, all is lost. And so there's a way that you got to be willing to separate some things.
Got it. So for anyone that wants the book, please email me and we'll make sure to get it to you. It's Olivier@olivierlewis.com, or ask Aline or Victoria or the office administrator in Hamilton. And if you're not part of our offices, please just email me or reach out to me and I'll make sure to get you a copy of Stacey's book. Stacey, what's the best way for anyone to connect with you?
Absolutely. Of course, you can always email me, but if you also just want to be in our free Facebook group, that's a great place to get in there and look at the resources, the free trainings that I do in there. We do 5-day challenges, 4-day challenges, all sorts of fun, free stuff that happen. And that's referrals without asking. So if you just go to Facebook and you search referrals without asking, or you go to staceybrownrandall.com/community, it'll redirect you to our Facebook group. And that is a great group to just join and just kind of jump into. And most folks are lurkers, and that's cool. They go in, they get what they need, and that's awesome. We also love it when you engage and ask questions and do things. But you can definitely get into that free Facebook group. That's a great place where lots of other resources are. But of course, if you have specific questions, please email me at stacy@stacyb.brownrandall.com. And of course, Olivia, you can share my email address with anybody who asks for it as well.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that, Stacey.
Yeah. Stacy@stacybrandall.com.
Got it.
Oh, maybe I could have put it in the comments. Actually, I don't know how to do that, so never mind.
No, don't worry. I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So, Stacey, I'm just typing as we speak.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Stacey B. Randall, Stacey at stacybrandall.com. Great. Stacey, I thank you again. Sabrina asked, can you post your email in the Facebook group?
Oh, I think she wants to post the Facebook group link.
Can you post that Oh, sorry. You're right. Sorry, not your email, but can you post that Facebook group link? I typed it in. It's referrals without asking.
Yep, just go to Facebook, and type in referrals without asking. That group will pop right up. You got to answer some questions because we got to know you're a real human before you can get in, and we'll let you in. So just referrals without asking on Facebook.
Great. So yes, I appreciate everything. As I mentioned, it was a pleasure reading your book and meeting you and hearing your story and picking up some nuggets and really changing the mindset of not asking for referrals and planting seeds, but also building the plan and tracking and measuring what's working and who's referring you. That's key. So thank you all for tuning in. Stacey, again, we can't thank you enough for your time. Much appreciated. So connect with Stacey in the Facebook group. Anyone have any questions, please reach out to myself or Carl. We're always here to help. Thank you again for the RE/MAX Tri-County agents that have joined us on our first industry event. Thank you to our East Brunswick and Cranford offices for, of course, continuing to attend our trainings. We appreciate it. Thank you for interacting, everyone that went on to the Ninja quiz and typed in whatever color belt you were. We appreciate it. And that is it for me, Stacey. Again, thank you. And connect with us and Stacey, and we look forward to seeing you at next month's event.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.